The town of Blackridge always felt older than it looked. Its streets were narrow, its houses wooden and worn, and its people lived with the quiet fear of something they could never name. Children grew up knowing which roads to avoid after dark. Adults locked their doors long before the sun had fully set. And the forest, the great Blackridge forest, stood at the edge of town like a sleeping monster, its trees twisted as if frozen in silent screams. It was a place of secrets, a place where the past never really died, it just waited. On February 9th, a cold sharper than any previous winter gripped the town. It wasn't just cold. It was an oppressive, heavy cold that seeped into your bones. Even the animals hid away. No dogs barked, no owls hooted in the distance, no branches rustled in the wind. The entire town felt suspended in a strange, unnatural stillness. The sky was nearly black, the clouds so thick and swollen they blocked out even the faintest glimmer of moonlight, plunging Blackridge into an inky darkness. At 10:58 p.m., a tremor rolled beneath the town. It was small, gentle, almost like something shifting in its sleep deep under the earth. People felt it in their floors and walls, a subtle vibration that rattled teacups and made the windows hum. But everyone pretended not to notice. You see, Blackridge had a long, long history of pretending. It was easier that way. At 11:13 p.m., the tremor came again, but this time it was stronger. A few picture frames fell from shelves, their glass shattering on hardwood floors. A car alarm blared into the silence, a shrill, panicked cry that was quickly silenced, and then stillness returned, deeper and more unsettling than before. The town held its breath, waiting. At 11:46 p.m., the third tremor struck. This one was heavy, deep, like a giant fist pounding from below. Dust rained from ceilings, furniture shook violently, and in the nearby forest, birds erupted from the treetops in a frantic, terrified swarm, their wings beating against the cold air. Exactly 1 minute later, a scream tore through the night. It wasn't a normal scream of pain or fear. It was jagged, broken, filled with a terror that sounded almost ancient. It was a sound that didn't belong in the modern world, a sound that crawled under your skin and stayed there. The scream came from the direction of the one place no one in Blackridge dared to approach anymore. The old Miller house. The house had been abandoned for 20 years, left to rot at the edge of the forest. People said the ground beneath it was cursed, that it was somehow wrong. Some folks said the Miller family hadn't just left. They'd been taken by something that lived under the floorboards. Others whispered that the house itself was alive, that it fed on the unlucky few who dared to enter. Officer Daniel Halle was the only one reckless enough, or perhaps brave enough, to respond. He was young, fearless, and still believed that logic and reason could explain everything. He hadn't lived in Blackridge long enough to learn its most important lesson: some things have no explanation. He grabbed his heavy jacket, a high-powered flashlight, and his radio, and drove his cruiser toward the forest's edge, the tires crunching on the frosted asphalt. His car's headlights swept across the crooked, skeletal outline of the Miller house. The windows were black, empty holes staring out into the night. The porch sagged like the jaw of a dying creature, and a thin, pale sheen of frost coated everything, making it glitter faintly in the harsh light. Daniel stepped out of his car, his breath fogging heavily in the icy air. The moment his boot touched the first rotting porch step, the wind, which had been moaning softly, stopped completely. The world seemed to inhale and hold its breath, waiting for him. Daniel swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry, and tried the front door. It swung open without a sound, too easily, too smoothly for a house that had been decaying for 2 decades. Inside, the air was suffocatingly cold, far colder than it was outside. Dust lay thick as a blanket on the floor, undisturbed for years, except for one thing: a set of long, narrow prints. They weren't shaped like shoes. They weren't shaped like any animal he recognized. The prints looked as if something long and thin had dragged itself across the floor in an uneven, almost painful pattern, disappearing deeper into the shadowy heart of the house. He clicked on his flashlight, its beam cutting a sharp comb through the darkness. "That's not possible," he whispered, his voice sounding small and foreign in the vast silence. His radio crackled suddenly, a burst of harsh static that made him jump. And then a voice came through, soft, distant, almost like it was coming from underground. Daniel! He froze, his heart pounding against his ribs. He waited, listening intently, every nerve on fire. Static again, hissing and popping. Then the voice returned, a little clearer this time, a chilling electronic whisper. Daniel, come back. He tightened his grip on the flashlight, his knuckles turning white, but he didn't leave. He should have. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to get back in his car and drive away as fast as he could. But something about those strange, impossible footprints pulled him forward, step by cautious step. They led him down a long hallway, past collapsed furniture draped in cobwebs and wallpaper peeling off the walls like sunburnt skin. They led him straight toward the basement door. The door was slightly ajar, and from the darkness below, an icy draft drifted upward, a cold so profound it felt like it could numb the skin right off his bones. His flashlight flickered once, twice. His radio crackled again, spitting static. The floor vibrated faintly under his boots, just once, like a slow, heavy heartbeat from the earth below. Daniel reached the basement door and, with a trembling hand, pushed it open wider. The hinges groaned, a low, drawn-out sound like something waking from a long, deep sleep. A long wooden staircase stretched downward into utter, impenetrable blackness. And from the bottom of those stairs, he heard breathing, slow, heavy, guttural, like something enormous and ancient, patiently waiting in the dark. Daniel took a single step downward onto the first creaking stair. The door slammed shut behind him, plunging him into absolute darkness. The lock clicked. He was not alone.